So what Kuza is doing, it is trying to find a way to get jobs for youth. It's doing that by taking different sectors, building the skills, having job centres, getting the opportunity at a very local level to get youth into work. It's a 3-year project, about 740 million shillings, which the British government is spending. We hope that will create about 5,000 jobs and train about 8,000 other young people. And we are starting this first phase of the project is in Mombasa.
Why Mombasa?
Well, because Mombasa is the country's second city. It is where we have a high level of unemployment. The figure we're talking is about 62% of young people are either unemployed or underemployed. So we've got to get those jobs out there. And my hope I've announced today is that we are looking to see if we can expand that project up and down the coast.
So we're looking at people with master's degree, people with diplomas who are equally unemployed, and we're also looking at people who dropped out of school and they really don't have the know-how. So who is Kuza targeting?
We want jobs for everybody, but what I'm really interested in is the latter. Think of Bill Gates. Did he have a job when he started Microsoft in his garage? You know, these are the people. They have ideas, they have creativity. Add on that they're Kenyan, and the potential we all know of Kenyan youth. It makes me so optimistic about this country. But we've got to be able to unleash that and to give them the opportunity to find those opportunities that are going to generate growth and generate further investment.
The Kenyan Coast, people have lost their jobs. We're talking about people being retrenched day in, day out. Managers in big hotels have had their salaries reduced. What's your take on this, especially in relation to travel advisories? It is affecting the tourist level here at the coast. What can you say about that?
So look, first of all, I want to really emphasize one thing, is that travel advice is not political, it's not economic, it's based on one simple thing, which is a security assessment, an objective security assessment of the situation. One of the reasons I'm here in Mombasa is to look very, very closely at that security assessment, to listen, to taste, to see, to feel what the situation is like, to make sure I can give the best possible advice to my political masters in London about what we need to do. I understand very, very clearly, because I have been to the coast many times, I have a deep affection for it. I understand the impact that closing hotels have on people's livelihoods. But the fault of that is not the travel advice, it is the insecurity that sits beneath that travel advice that drives it. So we have got to work together, Britain and Kenya, Kenyans together, to tackle that insecurity and to remove it so we can have the tourists coming back.
Okay, let's talk about the NGOs that were shut down, Muhuri and Haki Africa. Now they are back on track. But rumor had it at the time they were in court that they are being funded to fund radicalization of the youth and to increase terrorism. What's your take on that, and how do you feel that now one of the groups has been officially given their operating license back?
So I'm really pleased you raised radicalization, because if we are thinking about how to tackle insecurity and remove the travel advisors, we must tackle two things. The first is the hardware. We've got to make sure our installations are secure, the hotels, the port, the airport, and the Coney ferry crossing, and make sure we have the hardware to tackle the threat. But without the software as well, we're not going to beat this threat. And that is a lesson that my government learned the hard way in Northern Ireland over many years. You've got to work with communities. It's communities that beat terrorism. You've got to tackle the ideology at source, and that requires very, very local knowledge and interventions. What works for youth in Kilifi will be different to Kwale. The reason we must emphasize this is because it is organizations working at community level that need our support to go out there, be intermediaries. The worst person to talk about this is an Mzungu like me from the British government. The person from the national government also, it's about trust. You will only trust if you understand that local context. So my government carries out a lot of due diligence on who it funds. The British government has very strict anti-terror laws, so if we were financing a group that was guilty of terrorism, that would be a very, very serious allegation. On the two specific groups you mentioned, Haki Africa and Muhuri, we have funded in the past. We are not currently funding them, but generally we believe they have...
Why did you pull out your funding?
We haven't pulled out, it's just that the financial year ended, and if they can sort out this problem with registration, we would consider funding them again. I think the important thing, though, is not to quibble about points of, frankly, technicality of whether they're registered or not. That's not really for me to comment on. That's for them to resolve with the NGO registration board. I think that is quickly resolved. The core point is let's focus on the underlying need, which is to work with communities to beat terrorism.
Okay.
This point is a distraction from the core belief, and the president himself, he said this very clearly last week in his Madaraka Day speech, as did Museveni when he talked about the jiggers. Let's target specifically, let's work with communities, let's work with youth to counter radicalisation and violent extremism and build a stronger country.
How is the UK government planning to tackle the problem of insecurity, working hand in hand with the Kenyan government, and how exactly are we going to help end and curb the problem of unemployment, under-unemployment, and insecurity as a whole?
Well, look, I come back to where we started, which is youth. When I meet the young people, when I'm out of Nairobi, listening and talking, I am fantastically optimistic. These aren't serious challenges. They're about as serious a challenge as any country can face, and they're challenges that are shared across the world. But because it is a shared challenge, our response must be shared. And please be assured that the UK government is doing everything it can to work with Kenya, not only to invest in programs like Kuza to get jobs for youth, but also on insecurity. We don't talk about a lot of that, quite rightly. You see some of it at the airport with bomb detection and equipment. You see some of it in our work to train police and do other such things. But we are Kenya's oldest friend and partner, and that isn't going to change. We will work together to build security, jobs and growth.